Hello, I'm Angie. I am an independent advisor for Creative Memories in Michigan, and today we are going to chat about some new tools that CM has out. We're going to chat about the border cutting tools and the cutting mat layout ruler. So if you haven't had a chance to check these out, we're going to walk through why you might need them, or if you bought them because someone convinced you to, or because you thought they were cool, or let's be honest, FOMO. Let's chat about what you can do with them. So let me switch you over to my desktop view and we will jump right into it. And let me see. That gives a little bit more of a glare. Okay, so we are going to chat about these tools. So again, here is the cutting mat layout ruler, as well as the border cutting tools. And you do get both of these when you purchase them, and you can purchase the ruler separate. The blue mat is something that was for sale and will be for sale again. It will be available in 2026. I don't remember what month. Um, so that will be coming soon. So I have some paper. I have an old Croptoberfest. We're gonna work through cutting up some stuff. Let's focus first on the ruler, on why you might want it, what to do with it if you do have it. So for those of you who know me, know that I do love my T-square ruler for getting pictures straight. If I needed to line up multiple pictures, getting them straight, it was very helpful for me to use my T-square ruler. Now, this tool is if your T-square ruler and your previous Creative Memories zero centering ruler, if these two things had a baby, it would be this guy. So, not that I'm going to throw away my tools, but we can ditch two of these and just use this one. So, and there are some perks to this. Um, so again, if we've got our, let's use navy. If we've got our page here and I want to line everything up at 6 inches, this has some ledges. There, you can see that. So that fits onto your mat on top and bottom. So it fits on around your mat on top and bottom. So it's not shimmying, it's not moving. It is going to stay. We just have to make sure the lip is there. So it's going to stay and it's going to be straight on your mat. The biggest thing that you need to worry about is making sure that your paper is then straight on your mat on the lines. What is helpful sometimes is to take a little bit of repo tape and put it on in a couple spots, line it up straight, and then you know if you're gonna bump it or if you're shimmying it around, it's not gonna move. So that's helpful. So back to the tool. So if I wanted to line up photos along the 6 inch mark here, I can take my photos here. I've got a couple 3x4s, and my zero is right here in the center. So if I have a 3x4, middle is going to be at 2 inches, right? Half of 4 is 2 inches. So I'm going to have 2 inches on each side of the zero. So that is now centered there. And if I have my straight edge here, I can just line up some more photos right along the edge, and now they're all in a straight line. Couple other tips and tricks is, again, if you just want to be excuse me, ½ inch away, you can do that. Make sure you're a ½ inch. If you've got a border sticker that you are trying to line up, or I do this with my punched borders frequently, but again, you can just kind of butt it up against the edge there so that you know that it's going to be straight all the way up and down. What is nice too, I'm going to swap out for the white paper for a second. This is pretty convenient to mark for some reason if you need to know the dead center of the paper. I don't know why you might need to do it right off the top of my head, but we can put it at 6 inches, make a little mark, and oh, see, I didn't tack down my paper that time. We've got it at 6 inches. I'm going to push it up and do actually the bottom. And at 6 inches. So now we know that that's the center of our paper. Why do we need to know that? I don't know off the top of my head, but maybe we want to just know where the center is for lining up some photos. We can erase the pencil lines if we need to. Maybe we need to know the center. Let's see, where's my tool? Ah. Maybe we need to know the center for using the handy dandy circle cutter. I would extend my lines here a little bit, but then you would be able to line up your circle cutter, because of course this one goes by the center. So maybe we need to mark the circle for that. But I just really loved having the T-square aspect of it, to be able to, again, whether it's lining up pictures, or if I cut a whole bunch of little squares. Let's take, see, I wasn't exactly prepared with everything. If I've got a project going on, with a whole bunch of squares, and I want to have them lined up nicely. And I mean, say we want to, let's even just pretend we're actually doing a layout here. We want to have them spaced out nicely. Again, I'm starting, if I want them a 1/4 inch apart, I'm going to start at the 0 and I'm going to be 1/8 of an inch above, 1/8 of an inch below, and do that all the way down. I gotta move this down so I can see it a little bit. But again, 1/8 of an inch down and 1/8 of an inch up. So there we can have our squares lined up and evenly spaced. I would need to punch another one if we wanted to do that. Another thing for this is you don't have to have it on the mat. In this case, say that I wanted to line something up in the center of this square randomly. You can still take this, flip it over, and you can move your 0 to be even with anything on the page. So it doesn't have to be in the exact center. You can flip over your ruler. So if I'm trying to just mark where the center is, again, we're just going to go equal distance from the 0. In this case, the square is 1 inch and 1 3/4 inches. So I'm going to go equal, I'm going 7/8 on each side of it, and then I can mark the center. Again, I'm not sure off the top of my head why, to give it a good example of this, but maybe I needed to line up a border or some paper to the center of something else. So there are a plethora of things that we can do with this here. Another simple thing that we can do with the ruler as well as other tools is you can take it, kind of put it on your cutting mat and kind kind of line up your paper and tear. It's the perfect guide for a tearing tool. I know personally, sometimes when I go to tear, the paper just goes willy-nilly and I end up tearing too much off. So there is a perfectly straight torn edge. So that's a great thing to do with that. Okay, so that kind of sums up, gives you somewhat of an idea of what to do with this. I just love it to make sure everything's straight on my page. All right, so let's get into these guys, because these guys are really probably the biggest question of what are they? I'm confused. If you are an old-time CMer, advisor, or customer, you might remember that there were tools similar to this with the old cutting mat. So these ones are adapted for the new cutting mat. This one with the waves on it is very much similar to the decorative trimmer. We've kind of got what they call a ripple. I'm kind of anal and I labeled so that if instructions maybe on the CM blog tell me to use the ripple side or the peak, I know which one they're talking about. So this one is kind of in between these in terms of wave. This one is a little bit different because it kind of has a little bit of a peak there in the center. So it's kind of similar to this. This is discontinued. So they've got something similar in this, and I love this one. I love that this one's a little bit more squared, that they have the peak here and the zigzags. Love that one. Okay, so let's chat about it. Obviously, to use this one and these ones, we need to have one of the newer cutting mats, whether it's the gray style or this blue one that will be coming back. The blue is just pretty, let's be honest. And for these tools, and again, it comes in the 2-pack, you have to have the cutting system blades. So if you don't have any sort of cutting systems and you bought these tools, if you don't have the blades, you're going to be really confused on what to do with these. So make sure you have blades. And again, you have the 3 different distances of blade. This one is going to be the closest to the shape here. Green is going to be second, and then blue is going to be farthest away. I always think of it as the order of the colors in the rainbow. Roy, G, Biv, R for red, G for green, blue for the blue, B for the blue. That's what order I always think of them in. So that's how I tell the distance. Okay, so what do we do with these tools? Very similar to the straight edge, the layout ruler. One basic thing that we can do is take our paper and use it for a great cutting tear tool. So I don't want to tear too much off. But again, we're kind of making sure our paper's straight, so we have a nice straight tear, and you have this would be a very pretty for waves for the pool, I'm thinking, but lots of different things. But obviously what we can do is, let's go with the blue first. We're going to go outside first, furthest away first. But we're going to take our blades and, of course, as always, get the little notches into the groove. Make sure my paper's straight. And again, this one you can use a little repo on the back if you need to keep your paper from moving. Make sure both the little knobs are in the groove, and we can cut. Depending on how thick you want these to be, this is where you can use your ruler to try and figure out whether you want a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, but we can just kind of slide this. How convenient is that? You don't have to move your paper. You can just kind of slide this over for however thick or thin you want your strips to be. If it's easier for you, so I cut that one with the furthest away. You could always, instead of moving it, you can use a different blade. To get the thickness. You can also, so we've just got this paper centered on our mat. You can move it up. Maybe move it up 1/4 inch and cut. And this one, there's going to be just a smidge at the top here to trim. And then you've got a little bit of different thicker, thinner, kind of like a wave. And again, you can do those at different different thicknesses to get a little bit of a different look. And again, I had this at the top of my mat, so now if I want to move it back down to the center and make sure that's on there. Oh, I don't think I had both my little knobs in it. There we go. So I moved that one back down to the center. Oh, I didn't push all the way through here. That is the one thing I probably catch myself doing, is I don't always push down enough. So there we've got kind of some 2 different thicknesses of this wave look going on. Again, we can do the same with any sides. Again, we're just making sure that we're lined up on the edge here. I didn't start all the way at the bottom. See, we're just learning together here. This one I will say is go a little bit slow over this. You think with that first wave that it's easy, but there's a little bit awkward here. So go slow around that one. So there's kind of what that one looks like. And now what you can do too is take it and do it on the opposite side. So for this one in particular, it kind of has, I want to say an hourglass look, but it's not really. So there's that. And now how cute would that look with some pictures like that? If these were in a different color, well, maybe we'll flip it over here. I don't know. We're just kind of spitballing here. These don't quite line up because they're the other shape. So, you know, kind of use your imagination, but there's using that. For some of these, I've seen people weaving them. I'm not quite sure, or just overlapping them. So there's lots of different things. So we can do this in some different colors. That kind of looks like a braid. So you probably want to just cut them at the same thickness and kind of do that. Imagine something like that, maybe with a border sticker over the center. Kind of looks like a braid with a little bit of accent. Let's try something really creative real quick. Set this to the side. We are going to take this and use our tools similar to the frames that we have for the custom cutting systems. So if you don't have maybe some of these jumbo square frames, or here's like the simple frame. So we can do something similar with this. So again, we're going to make sure that it's on all the way. And we can line this up kind of towards the edge. I am going to look, and I've got my, excuse me, I've got the tool lined up at 1 1/8 on both top and bottom. And I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. I am going to basically start, I can kind of see 1 1/4 or 1 1/8 there. That's where I'm going to start. And this is honestly the first time I'm doing this, but we're just going to kind of walk through this together. But I'm going to, for the most part, start my blade at 1 1/8. And again, this one I'm going to go a little bit slower on the zigzags. And I'm going to come down to about 1 1/8 and stop. Now I'm going to keep my paper still, take my tool, and I'm going to rotate it around. So the great thing about this mat is that you have rulers all the way around. Again, I'm going to line up the tool at 1 1/8 all the way around. And I can tell I didn't go down quite far enough on this, but we will be able to get the corners with our scissors. And again, I'm going slower on the zigzag here. It does, for me, for my body, it kind of jumps sometimes. Rotate it around. And I've got the edge of my tool on the 1 1/8. And again, that means that my blade is a little bit farther away than that. So I'm going to have a little bit of cleaning up to do with my micro tip scissors. And without moving my paper, I'm going to turn this around just so I can see it better. So you don't have to look at the top of my head. And we're going to do this last one here. Okay, now again, I know I have the little bit to cut there, so that's fine. We'll just follow the line. And one more. So now I can use either piece of this. My leaves are upside down, that's okay. So I could have use the outside frame on a piece of paper and, you know, of course have my layout, or the opposite of that, we can use the center. Okay, so that's how we can kind of use these tools to create a frame style look. Again, we can use it as the tearing tool. We can obviously use it for some borders. I could take what I've already done here and I could cut zigzags on the other side, and that would be a good piece of for a border. But that's the basis of how you use these tools, why you might need or want them. Again, for this set in particular, if you already have a decorative trimmer, maybe you're not so keen on it. I personally was really excited for this zigzag and this peak side. And again, this tool, love, love, love. It has replaced my T-square ruler, and it's actually easier and better than my T-square ruler. So where is my T-square ruler? So with this, my ruler started way up here. So this is great for lots of other purposes, but for the purpose of scrapbooking, the ruler started up here. So if I was trying to measure, excuse me, if I was trying to measure something on my mat, my paper didn't start, it started like a half an inch down of the ruler. On this one, of course, the ruler is where the cutting mat ruler is and where your paper would be. Also, what I did find is, even though, again, this is great, I would find that I would have to be more conscious of that this was lined up. Sometimes I would find that it would be pushed up against one way or another, and it would kind of shimmy a little bit. I would just be putting more pressure on one side versus another. So again, with this one, with having the ridges and basically the T-square part on both top and bottom, there is a little bit of wiggle room. It doesn't fit exact on here. So there is a little bit of wiggle room, but for the most part, I am lining up and I can go all the way to the end. Again, this one stops. It's short. It doesn't go all the way to the end. So even if I was trying to do something all the way to the bottom of the page, it didn't reach. But this one I can line up and see on my ruler. Here I'm at the 7. Here I'm at the 5. So it's going straight up and down the whole length of my paper. So those are just some helpful hints of what these tools are, why you might need them, or if you have them, what to do with them. There's obviously plenty of other things that you can do with these tools. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Again, for this tool, it's just a handy dandy tool. For these two, you do have to have the blades, and that is the purpose of these tools, is using the blades with it. Again, so I hope this helped. I hope this helped in understanding what these tools are, why the heck you might want them, or if you already have them, what to do with them. If you have any other questions, let me know. If you've done any other great and cool things with these tools, I would love to see them. Otherwise, happy scrapping.